Hello, my name is Lee Gelsinger, and I'm a police officer with the City of Vancouver. Currently, I am assigned to our training division and assist with scheduling our annual regional crisis intervention program. With that being said, let's get started. Thank you for joining me to review this information and to discuss the Vancouver Police Department's involvement with our community partnerships to provide crisis intervention services. I would like to first establish what legal directives exist to guide and assist agencies in adhering to not only the laws of Washington State, but also to the best practices of crisis intervention response. What the code says in regards to the training is that every full-time law enforcement officer employed after July 1, 2017 shall receive a minimum of 8 hours during their basic and lateral academies. VPD only employs full-time officers, and continued education is received annually throughout the officer's career. The directive of the code is for agencies to achieve enhanced crisis intervention training for at least 25% of all full-time law enforcement officers. Vancouver has exceeded this directive, with currently 86% of our department having enhanced crisis intervention training. Crisis intervention training is an evolving officer skill, and here is what I mean. We are expanding our knowledge of crisis response and changing response actions as new and better information becomes available. The Vancouver Police Department has 221 sworn officers currently. During the annual 40-hour crisis intervention, experts and professionals present to officers throughout the training. Officers get the opportunity to learn through role-playing and receive instruction from over a dozen presenters covering over 20 topics. Topics include community resources, mental health advocate information, de-escalation training from experienced providers, and role-playing scenarios for immersion into mental health contacts with the public. The True Blood Initiative, which is True Blood versus DSHS, is a case challenging unconstitutional delays in competency evaluation and restoration services. The True Blood Agreement includes expanding residential mental health with crisis services, additional training for jail staff and law enforcement, hiring additional forensic navigators, and more mental health professionals to educate courts about the availability of supports that could meet the needs of individuals who wait in jail for evaluation and restoration services. Additionally, the goal is to bring the state into compliance and reduce the number of people who become or remain class members, and timely serve those who cannot be diverted from becoming class members, and focus on effective outcomes and success of existing programs within Washington. Southwest Washington has been selected to participate in the implementation of the True Blood Initiative as a Phase 1 region. The Vancouver Police Department has community partnerships through cooperation with organizations that specialize in crisis response, substance abuse, and contacting citizens with a diminished mental capacity. On your screen, you will see a wrap-up of the main crisis intervention programs made available to each Vancouver police officer. I added the Crisis Negotiator Level 1 certification obtained by each member of our Crisis Negotiator team. Currently, there are 6 members on the team and 2 civilian mental health professionals that are part of a county-wide response. In addition to these courses, officers are exposed throughout the year to training scenarios where de-escalation tactics will be applied. VPD policy is online for your reference and any questions. The following excerpts from VPD policy provide guidelines for interacting with those who may be experiencing a mental health or emotional crisis. Interaction with such individuals has the potential for miscommunication and violence. It often requires an officer to make difficult judgments about a person's mental state and intent in order to effectively and legally interact with the individual. In respect to de-escalation, officers should consider that taking no action or passively monitoring the situation may be the most reasonable response to a mental health crisis. During many calls for service, VPD officers are requested to respond and interact with an individual in crisis. Calls also involving someone in crisis can be unknown to the responding officers until that contact is made. Officers are trained to continue to evaluate the need for engagement or disengagement at all option levels. In assessment, whether the call comes into dispatch or the crisis line, an assessment is made to determine routing of that call. If it is a suicide in progress or a suicide just occurred, the call is routed to law enforcement through 911. If the call is a suicidal call for service, the call is routed to or stays with the crisis line. With involuntary evaluations, any officers handling a call involving an individual who may qualify for an emergent detention should consider available information that might assist in determining the cause and nature of the individual's actions or their stated intentions. Skills that aid the officers during each interaction come from training and experience in conflict resolution and de-escalation techniques. Also available is the cooperation from the community or other resources available to assist with mental health-related calls for service. At your next meeting, you will have the opportunity to speak with Lieutenant McNicholas and Lieutenant Jedry, who can answer any questions you may have or expand on the topics that I've presented. Thank you so much for your time, and have a wonderful day.